Okay, we're going to do a little more backfilling, even more, on the E. Jean Carroll versus Trump with Trump's lawyer, Alina Habba. There's key details that Trump's lawyer, Epstein, put out that I wanted to cover here. And I've read every piece of back and forth on the entire court case now. So I should be owed a medal. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. I bring you news as entertainment. I'm trying to keep it a little upbeat and unpack things because I'm just a barely literate comic book artist. And I'm trying to make all this stuff make sense for me. And then what I learn, I pass on and try and make it make sense for you. So it should be an easier way to take in all of this legal mumbo jumbo and politics and the Constitution and Trump, why he's going to win this fall. I'm making the case every day right here in Exile. Let's go. So first, this is a bullet point of what happened yesterday. And number one, they went over repairing Carroll's reputation would cost $12 million, says an expert. I'm going to get into that. Carroll concedes she was attacked online before Trump's denial. Quote, "I would love it," Trump says to judge threatening to toss him. Trump ended the world that I had been living in, says Carroll. Carroll takes the stand as Trump looks on. Quote, "This is not a do-over," the judge instructed the jury. This is going back as deep as the day before. So not just yesterday. This is the first day. And two election deniers don't make the cut as jury is seated. That's the new news today. We're going to get to all of that and more. So first, here's Trump's lawyer, Epstein, going public. This is a clip I pulled from the Steve Bannon show.
She said, "This is the dress I wore in 1994. They went back, they checked. The dress wasn't even made in 1994. And that's why the date is moved around. Is it the 80s? Is it the 90s? Is it the 2000s? President Trump has consistently stated that he was falsely accused and he has the right to defend himself. And moving forward, remember, on that dress, the plaintiffs repeatedly tried to blackmail President Trump with the Monica Lewinsky type story on the dress, saying there was any connection. Once it was clear there was no connection because this incident never occurred, they begged the judge to not let the dress in, and of course, the judge went along with that.
There was a dress, an E. Jean Carroll dress. I don't know if it allegedly had stains on it or what, like Monica Lewinsky. But this is what I find weird. Number one, I could not find this clip of Epstein making this case anywhere on the internet. The only place I could find it was on Steve Bannon's channel. So it's not out there. It's not being released. That means this information isn't getting out there. Further, I did a huge search on Google looking for this plot point in the whole thing about her dress. This is the only place it's mentioned that she brought in this dress, that they found out that it was totally did not conclude what they thought it would conclude. And then her side tried to get the dress scrubbed out of the court case, and the judge complied. I believe a Clinton appointment. So he's like a super senior judge. He's also very serious, and he's known for pushing cases along very fast. And I also believe he's a Democrat sellout. So that's the dress. It vanished. There's no mention of it. And it was originally brought up by E. Jean Carroll, and now it's been vanished.
Do not forget that the plaintiff admitted to deleting and destroying mountains and mountains of evidence under subpoena. That is a crime. That is illegal. That taints this whole case and the first sham trial.
That's another point I hadn't heard, that she destroyed evidence. I actually found the dialogue during the court case yesterday on this one, on the destruction of evidence. Habba questioning Carroll about threatening emails she said she received. Carroll said, this is E. Jean Carroll, said she deleted many of those messages because, quote, "I didn't know how to handle the death threats. I thought deleting them was the easiest way to get them out of my life." So then when Carroll said she had deleted some messages around the time of her earlier trial involving Trump, Habba asked for a mistrial, saying, quote, "The witness has just admitted to deleting evidence herself." And that's true. But why haven't you heard about it? Oh, Judge Kaplan immediately denied the request and said, quote, "The jury will disregard everything Ms. Habba just said."
And then the question about the gun. Is it a revolver? Is it a rifle? But we know there was no license.
So what's this about a gun? E. Jean Carroll has a gun? A weapon? Here's E. Jean Carroll says she sleeps with a gun beside her bed after being targeted by threats. Now, there's a small exchange of dialogue here. Nowhere does it go into the gun being unregistered, and they don't know if it's a rifle or a pistol. That must have been another side piece of dialogue. They also didn't allow in evidence, and they also wiped from memory because it's not a searchable term on Google. Carroll said she is now on, quote, hyper alert since being threatened. This is by Trump's followers have all threatened her online. Quote, I alerted the neighbors to be on watch, and I bought bullets for the gun I had inherited from my father, she said. Quote, where do you keep the gun? Her attorney, Robert Kaplan, asked. By my bed, Carroll responded. So that's what the Epstein, Trump's lawyer, said about that they couldn't find any record of it. It hasn't been licensed.
Overall, this whole sham, this whole crooked Joe Biden-driven election interference has been discredited. It should be ended, and all the hoaxes are falling apart like the rotten house of cards that they are.
That I agree with. Now here's more Fox News coverage of E. Jean Carroll.
Under cross-examination Thursday, E. Jean Carroll was asked, did you sue Donald Trump to repair your reputation? She answered, yes.
This is the key to the whole case, is she's trying to get her reputation back. Can you sue someone to get your reputation back? No, you can't. So all you can get is monetary damages. What does it cost to repair your, because forever, I'm not doing this because Trump told me anything. I'm doing this because I've studied this whole trial. I believe she's a liar. I believe she's discredited. I believe her reputation is going to be tainted with that forever. So how much money does that cost? Well, it's going to cost apparently $12 million to repair, which I think is actually kind of reasonable. That's also no threat to Trump. He can come up with $12 million like that. He will serve no jail time. So that's the good news.
Carroll was on the stand for 2.5 hours during day 3 of the civil trial to determine the amount of damages she'll receive for defamatory comments made about her by former President Donald Trump.
Basically, professionally, it would cost $12 million for her to scrub all of these opinions about her online. It's not necessarily telling lies. It's really just marketing.
She is suing Trump for negative comments on TV and social media and the impact on her journalism career and livelihood.
And this is where I think they're way wrong. I don't think this had any negative effect on her journalism or her livelihood, because she has now gained a giant following of anti-Trumpers, and she's this hero on the left. You know, she's invited to Kathy Griffin's to all these cocktail parties. So Trump didn't have to sick his audience on her for them to come after her. That's just the way social media works. On social media, many of you would defend me and go and attack my opponent if we got in an online fight. And that's all that happened here. I don't get why there's monetary damages to that, because they've shown that E. Jean Carroll has made money off her negative reputation. I'll give another example. How many of you have ever heard of Kim Kardashian? She's only famous because a sex tape was released of her. That's what she's famous for, being low or whatever. It made her whole career. She monetized it into the billions. That doesn't justify it because she didn't have a choice in it, maybe. But that's just how these things work. The question is, if other people take what you say and weaponize it against someone online, will you have to pay a fine for that? That's scarier to me as a social media guy and anyone who has any kind of social media presence. Are they going to start fining you for every word you say, even though you didn't incite someone else to do something?
Dr. Ashley Humphreys, a professor of social media studies at Northwestern University.
This professor of social media studies at Northwestern University, this is a scam. This is one of their expert witnesses. I don't buy it at all, because she's a social media expert and not a statistician. She has to know statistics to really know how many tweets or how much social commentary is really worth what amount of money. So she's really more of a sociologist, and that's a softer science, but we'll let her go.
Testified that the damage amount was between $7 million and $12 million.
So $12 million max. It doesn't mean that that's necessarily the amount set. They could say it's $100 million, and say, hey, pay up. I only know that amount of money is not going to keep Trump awake at night. So I think they're just fighting this to keep it from going north of 12 million, because they could just go for the ceiling. And what will 12 million buy? How much money does E. Jean Carroll spend online because she wants to change people's understanding of her and reverse it to before, when Trump said those things about her? That's what they have stated is the goal. You can't spend, it'd be like me spending $12 million to be known as like an incredible liberal atheist. How much money would it cost for me to do that? You can't counter who you are, no matter how much money you have. We're watching Ron DeSantis spend $200 million trying to be the candidate. $200 million didn't put a dent in you. Nikki Haley, 1 or 2 tweets change how everyone sees about her. How many people have negative views about Trump because the Democrat Party paid billions of dollars to slander him? Lots of them. So you're not going to repair things. You can just give someone a bunch of money and say, I hope this makes you happy. There.
This is part of the Democrats' lawfare and election interference. The 2 bogus impeachments, the 4 bogus indictments for non-crimes, the illegal gag orders, the trying to bankrupt bankrupt Trump for non-fraud, the Trump Organization and Trump for non-fraud, the Hail Mary of trying to just take him off the ballot. You have these civil lawsuits being filed by Jean Carroll. She's the Christine Blasey Ford of this lawfare.
I've heard that name brought up a lot, Christine Blasey Ford. That's the lady who fake accused Kavanaugh of some kind of sexual advance back when he was in college, when they tried destroying him from getting on the Supreme Court. So she's like a fake witness they went out and found. And this is Mike Davis on Steve Bannon.
She doesn't remember how she got there. She doesn't remember how she got home. She doesn't remember anything. She's bat shit crazy, but she remembers it was Donald Trump. I mean, it's just, this is insane what they're doing to President Trump. And
they found an easy person to go after Donald Trump. This is just opportunism. It won't work. And then here's on, will Trump get a fair trial? Here's quote, Manhattan is 90 to 95% Democrat. Epstein, that's Trump's lawyer, said, despite voter registration records showing the borough is about 70% Democrat. Quote, does anybody think the president will get a fair trial here? Absolutely not, he said. So we already know just by the jury that they would pick, it's 70% Democrat at best. It's probably more like 90 to 95% Democrat. And this really is the big take home, is I don't think anyone in the future is going to get justice if a member of the opposite party is going to be on the jury. This whole jury should have been Republicans. They should have gotten all rhinos or something to look at it, because at least the rest of us would think it was somehow fair. And then here's the big one. So even though they have 70% Democrats to choose from, here's the 2 jurors that they cut off of the jury. 2 people who said they believe that the election was stolen from Donald Trump by President Joe Biden did not make the jury, nor did a man who said he believed Trump was being treated unfairly by the United States court systems. That's 3 dismissals they made in the jury pool. That in of itself shows they're just getting this whole thing packed up with Democrats. And if you don't believe in the elections, or if you believe Trump is being targeted by the government, by the United States court system, which he is, they won't allow you on the jury. That's not justice, guys. This is not America.
this is going to get me in trouble, but I'm going to say it anyway. Look at Melania and look at Jean Carroll. Do you think President Trump is trying to go after Jean Carroll? Give us a damn break. This woman is nuts.
Now, Bannon is laughing there, and I don't do that. I'm not making fun of the woman's looks. I will say I think she's nuts, but that's not the point. The point is what he says is actually true. This is back when Trump says, look, she's not my type. Even 30 years ago, Trump is 77 years old and she's 80 years old. It is Trump's type to go after, do this to a woman who's 3 years older than him. He's only married women that are 10 or 20 years younger than him. Look at Melania. While he's married to Melania, he's going after her? Of course not. It's nowhere in his background that he goes after older women. If anything, he chases younger women. That's what most billionaires do. I hope you guys like this as I do more research on this. Don't be afraid to throw us a super thanks. And I appreciate the people. Some of you guys are giving me just a ton of super thanks. Even little $2 ones come in. And I appreciate that. Just I look at them all. We answer them all. We thank you for that. So you'll always get a thank you from us on those. Yesterday was our largest day of subscribers of the whole year. 3,700 of you came in and joined our cause as we march with Trump all the way to presidency. This year, I'm dug in exile.